The military command posts the CP. It's often invisible, tucked away in some bunker or a tent city, but it's the absolute brain of any major operation.
That's the perfect analogy. Without it, you just have scattered pieces on a board.
Right. And with it, they become a single, coherent machine.
And a CP isn't just a place, a tent. It's a whole system, a mission command system, actually.
So it's more than just the facility.
Oh, much more. It's the people, the networks, all the information systems, the procedures. It's everything that lets the commander and staff do their jobs.
Well, we've poured through the sources on how these complex headquarters are organized, how they function, and maybe most critically, how they stay operational 24/7 under just incredible duress.
Yeah.
And today, we're going to unpack that organizational blueprint for you.
And it's a blueprint that has been constantly changing. I mean, the whole idea of separating the planners from the fighters goes way back.
In Napoleon, right?
Exactly. Napoleon knew he needed a planning HQ separate from the smaller, more mobile one he could take forward. And then World War II really codified that with the forward and rear echelons.
But the last 20 years have forced probably the biggest shift yet. We came out of an era where CPs could become these massive, almost permanent structures inside secure bases in, say, Iraq and Afghanistan.
And that world is it's over. That static model is a huge glowing target for modern weapons.
A massive liability.
Absolutely. The doctrine has done a complete 180. The focus now is all about rapid displacement, agility, and pure survivability in really austere environments.
Which means we're seeing this new model, right? The mobile forward CP paired with a home station CP that might be thousands of miles away.
That's the direction for division and corps, for sure. It's all about balancing capability with not getting hit.
So our mission today is to unpack that blueprint. We'll start with the most basic responsibilities.
Yeah.
What are the core tasks that every single command post has to do?
Okay, so every CP, doesn't matter the size, has 6 common functions. And they all directly support the commander in what's called mission command. Understanding, visualizing, directing, and assessing the fight.
Let's start with the absolute foundation, which has to be just handling information. In an environment of pure information overload, what are the first two?
Their knowledge management, or KM, and information management, IM, KM, is really about making sure knowledge flows so people can make good decisions.
And IM is the tech side of that.
Exactly. IM is the science of using the systems, the procedures, to collect, process, and get all that data to the right people.
What's interesting here is that a huge part of knowledge management isn't about tech at all. It's about setting the organization's heartbeat, the battle rhythm.
You've hit on a key insight. The battle rhythm is that deliberate, non-negotiable schedule of meetings, reports, and briefings. It's what turns chaos into a predictable workflow.
And that's usually the chief of staff's job, to manage that pulse, right?
That's right. They make the trains run on time, integrating all the staff sections.
Yeah. So once you have that flow managed, function number 2 is building and maintaining situational understanding. This sounds like the end goal, really. Knowing enough to make the right call.
It is the ultimate goal. And to get there, CPs rely on 2 major tools. First, you have continuously updated running estimates.
And those are so important because they force every single staff section, intel, logistics, you name it, to constantly assess the facts and their own conclusions.
Exactly. It forces diligence. And the second tool is the Common Operational Picture, the COP. This is the single shared display of relevant information, digital or analog, that everyone's looking at.
So if things go wrong, the COP is the single source of truth.
That's it. Everyone's on the same page.
Okay, so we understand the situation. We're managing the information. The next logical step is actually doing something. How does the CP achieve function 3, controlling operations?
Well, control is all about regulating forces, and it happens in 2 main ways. First, you have procedural control.
The pre-approved stuff, the SOPs, the orders.
Right. And then you have positive control, which is the commander and the leaders actively assessing and directing things during the fight, to influence that decisive moment.
Okay, that makes sense. Function 4 is assessing operations. Figuring out if what you're doing is actually working. Is that one person's job?
No, and that's an important point. It's decentralized. The commander delegates it. For instance, the intel cell does the battle damage assessment. What did our attack actually do to the enemy?
While another cell might be doing risk assessment.
Exactly. The protection cell is constantly assessing what threats are still out there. That division of labor keeps everyone focused.
Very efficient. What about the last 2? Coordination and administration.
Function 5, coordinating, is about synchronizing with everyone. Not just your own units, but units next to you, above you, and any partners you're working with, usually done with liaison teams.
And the last one sounds like the thankless but essential job.
It is. Function 6 is performing CP administration. This is the 2047 logistical backbone. Setting up, tearing down, security, sleep plans, stress management, all of it.
Okay, that sets the stage for the how. Now let's look at the structure itself. How are CPs actually divided up to handle all this?
It all starts with the main command post. The main CP, this is the unit's principal headquarters with the majority of the staff.
It's the big brain doing the deep analysis and long-term planning.
That's right. And because of its size and all that capability, it's not very mobile.
And that lack of mobility means it needs a partner, something much faster and leaner, which is the tactical CP or the TAC.
The TAC. It's a tailored, fully mobile extension of the main. It's led by a deputy commander or an operations officer, and it focuses on controlling, say, a really decisive part of the battle, like a river crossing.
And here's the critical part, when the main CP has to pack up and move.
The TAC takes over. It's designed to assume control of the entire operation for a limited time to make sure there's no gap.
That moment when the main brain goes offline to move, that has to be the most vulnerable time for a commander.
It's the moment of maximum exposure. The TAC is the insurance policy against that.
And then at the higher levels, Field Army and Theater Army, they have their own versions.
Yeah, they might use an operational CP or a contingency CP. They're tailored for smaller scale ops, and they rely heavily on the main for that deep planning support.
And for the commander to get their own eyes on the battlefield, there's the Mobile Command Group.
That's the commander's personal connection to the fight. At the division or corps level, it's a small group in vehicles or helicopters that lets the commander move to a critical spot, see things for themselves, and still stay fully networked.
Let's go down to the battalion level, where logistics gets its own specialized CPs. Can you clarify the difference between field trains and combat trains?
Of course. So battalions have two main logistics CPs. The field train CP, or FTCP, is usually further back. It handles things like personnel admin and unit supply requests, rear areas stuff.
And the combat train CP.
The CTCP is closer to the fight. It's led by the S4, and it controls the immediate support, the really critical time-sensitive tasks like evacuating casualties, damaged equipment, and detainees.
Finally, what if a unit has to deploy fast into a brand new theater?
For that, they use an early entry command post, or EECP.
The advanced team.
Think of it exactly like that. It's a temporary lead element, usually from the TAC, plus some key planners. Their only job is to get control of the initial operations until the main body of the headquarters can arrive and get fully set up.
This is where the organizational complexity just explodes. We're moving beyond simple staff sections like G1, G2 into these specialized cells.
Yes, the cells are the real building blocks of the mission command system, and they organize themselves along two different lines to avoid, getting stuck in their own silos.
Okay, what are those two lines?
You have the functional cells and the integrating cells. The functional cells are grouped by their core military task, what we call a warfighting function.
Let's run through those 5 functions real quick.
Sure. First is the intelligence cell. G2, or S2 leads that. Then you have the movement and maneuver cell, run by the G3, focused on positional advantage.
Then fires.
The fire cell, right.
Yeah.
They coordinate all the non-maneuver weapons and targeting. Fourth is the protection cell.
They handle things like air defense, engineer barriers, chemical threats.
All of that. And fifth is the sustainment cell, which covers all the logistics, personnel services, and health support.
So the functional cells are the specialists. They tell you what needs to be done in their area. So the integrating cells must be the ones that solve the problem of when.
That is the crucial distinction. They cut across all 5 of those functional cells to synchronize everything based on the planning horizon. Long, mid, and short range.
On the long end, you have the plan cell.
Led by the G5, they're looking way down the road. They develop the initial campaign orders, branch plans for what-if scenarios, and sequels, the plan for the next operation.
And bridging that long-term strategy with what's happening now is the future operations cell.
Yep, usually a division and corps. They're the mid-range planners. They're looking at the next 24 to 72 hours, positioning forces, detailed synchronization, and issuing what are called fragmentary orders, or fragwalls, to make immediate changes.
And then we get to the nerve center, the absolute control room for what's happening right now, the current operations integrating cell, or COIC.
The COIC is it. That's the focal point for execution. They are glued to the COP, they do the short-range planning for the next few hours, and they handle any immediate crisis.
Who runs that?
Chief of Operations. And the core of the COIC is actually the movement and maneuver staff, because they're responsible for where everyone physically is on the battlefield.
To make this huge staff actually work, you mentioned things are formalized into boards and working groups. Why is that distinction so important?
This is a huge concept for any complex organization, really. A working group, let's say an information collection working group, is advisory. They analyze, they coordinate, they recommend, but they can't decide.
The decision authority stays higher up.
Right. But boards, things like a targeting board, have delegated decision authority from the commander. They meet specifically to decide the issue and initiate action right away.
That's fascinating. It prevents the commander from becoming the bottleneck for every single decision.
That's the whole point. It's about delegating authority effectively to maintain tempo.
So let's get into the mechanics of keeping this all running. The fundamental challenge seems to be balancing effectiveness versus survivability.
That tension drives every single choice in CP design today. You want fast coordination, but every radio transmission, every vehicle makes you a target.
So to boost effectiveness, what do they focus on?
They focus heavily on standardization, using SOPs and battle drills so that routine stuff is just second nature. They also obsess over layout.
Layout as in where the tents and cells are physically placed?
Precisely. The layout has to enable what's called trafficability, the free flow of people and information. You might, for example, put the COIC somewhere that minimizes foot traffic and noise to keep them focused.
And on the other side of that coin, for survivability, what are the key defenses against modern targeting?
The main defenses are all about reducing your signature. That means maximizing dispersion, keeping only what's essential up forward. It means minimizing size smaller is harder to hit, but you lose capability.
And building in redundancy, I assume.
Massive redundancy. People, equipment, everything. And of course, mobility. The ability to pack up and move before the enemy can find you and target you.
And for 24-hour operations, continuity is everything. You can't just pause the war. How do they staff the shifts without burning everyone out?
Yeah, that requires intense planning. The simplest way is a standard shift to balanced 12-hour shifts. It's easy to manage, but that handover creates a small break in continuity.
So what are the other options?
Well, there's the heavy or light shift, where you deliberately put most of your people on duty during what you expect to be the busiest part of the fight.
But what if continuity is the absolute top priority?
Then you go with a staggered shift. This is the best, operationally. You have overlapping shifts, so the incoming team might show up 4 hours before the outgoing team leaves.
So you get a perfect handover of the situation.
A perfect handover. But it is by far the most complex schedule for the Chief of Staff to manage.
Speaking of complex management, who are the really critical people holding this all together on the floor?
Well, we mentioned the Chief of Staff managing the battle rhythm, but during the actual shift, the battle captain is probably the most stressed person in the building. They are the officer in charge of that shift.
The focal point for everything.
Everything. And the expectation is immense. They have to know the current plan, 2 loads down at all times. They own the fight on their shift.
And who makes sure all the digital systems, the brain's connections, are actually working?
That would be the digital master gunner. They're the expert on all the mission command information systems. They make sure the networks are up, the COP is visible to everyone, and they troubleshoot the digital architecture. Indispensable.
Okay, let's shift to the physical side. Before a single network goes up, a site has to be picked, defended, and sustained. What drives the choice of where to put this huge target?
The site selection is a deep analysis of METC mission, enemy, terrain, troops, time, and civil considerations.
A constant trade-off.
Always. You're weighing your ability to communicate against the range of enemy weapons, you're using terrain for cover, and you absolutely have to avoid obvious features like hilltops or major crossroads that just scream, target here.
What about using built-up areas like towns? That seems risky.
It's very high risk, high reward. You get great cover and access to services, but you endanger the local population, and critically, you give the enemy 1,000 places to hide and watch you from.
Once a spot is picked, setting up is a race. What's priority number 1?
Priority 1, always, without exception, is to clear the site and establish security. That's it. It's a team effort run by the senior NCOs following a strict SOP.
Only after security is up do you start building.
After security, you move to tactical voice comms, then camouflage and infrastructure, then the power grid, and only then do you start setting up all the internal digital gear.
And the defense itself is layered, right?
Right.
Can you walk us through those zones?
Yeah, it's designed for depth.
Uh-huh.
You have an outer security area, which extends out to the range of your direct fire weapons. That's for early warning.
Okay.
Then you have the perimeter zone, which is the actual perimeter with its fighting positions and observation posts. And finally, the inner security area inside the wire with extra barriers and traffic control around the most critical command cells.
The logistics of just keeping a 24-hour brain running in the middle of nowhere must be huge,
Oh.
especially power.
It's massive. And modern systems have moved to what's called the central power concept. Instead of every system having its own little generator, you have one big dedicated power plant for everything.
Which is more efficient, I imagine.
Far more efficient. It simplifies maintenance, it cuts way down on fuel use, but you have to be meticulous about managing that fuel supply. If it goes down, everything goes down.
And we can't forget the less glamorous realities of field life that can tank performance, like sanitation and waste.
You can't. Those mundane details are critical for long-term health. The SOPs have to cover field sanitation, hazardous waste, and integrated waste management. That means everything from solid waste to black water and gray water. If those systems break down, your force gets sick and the CP fails.
Wow. We've gone from Napoleon's fighting HQ all the way to managing Blackwater. The command post is just this incredibly organized organism designed for nonstop function where every single role and structure, every cell, every board has a specific integrated purpose.
It really is. And the enduring challenge, the real tension, is between the cutting-edge tech and pure, simple redundancy. Even with digital systems like CPOF, the sources all stress that CPs have to maintain fully updated analog capabilities.
Maps and charts.
Maps, charts, physical displays. It's an absolute necessity. When the digital systems fail or when the whole headquarters has to move and go dark, that analog backup is the ultimate insurance policy for keeping your situational understanding.
That reliance on paper, even in the age of satellites, is just a fantastic image of operational reality. So for you, the listener, think about this. We've seen how military commanders create these formal structures, boards and working groups, and give them very specific decision authority to speed things up. Think about how that concept, really distinguishing between groups that can only recommend and groups that are empowered to decide and act, could be applied to a complex project or team you lead. You might find it dramatically increases your efficiency and speed just by eliminating those bottlenecks, something to mull over until our next deep dive.